The worst thing that anybody could do is run ads when your business is sinking. Hi, my name is Edwin Anthony, owner of Edwin Top Digital. Today, what we're gonna talk about is a major problem. There are so many businesses that have this strong pain point that when business is going down in sales, they just wanna freak out and say, oh my goodness, I need to run ads because my business is failing. And what I'm here to tell you is pump the brakes before you go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna teach you several ways of what you should do with your business before you start pumping money on ads. What's worse, wasting money on ads. Here we go. All right, point number one, how involved are you with social media? Come on, let's say the truth. I know a lot of you guys don't wanna admit it, but a lot of businesses that we do audits for, you guys are putting all your eggs in one basket. You probably have just one Instagram account. You probably just have a TikTok, whatever the case may be. You're putting your efforts, and sometimes maybe not even all your efforts. You're just doing it sometimes on Instagram. Here's the truth. If your business is on panic mode, rule number one, make sure you're on multiple social medias. In other words, you're on Instagram, you're also on Facebook, you're also on TikTok. You might say to yourself, well, I don't agree with TikTok because, it's a Chinese app and this and that and the third. Hey, it has tons of eyeballs. A lot of people are involved on TikTok. We're not in the business of emotions. We're in the business of making money. So if you're not in TikTok, you need to get over this whole thing about what's happening. And you need to say, I need to get on TikTok for business purposes only. Get on TikTok, create an account. If you're a woman or if you own women's fashion, such as jewelry, fashion for clothes, whatever the case may be, why are you ignoring Pinterest? Pinterest is 80% or 86% women-based. You need to be on Pinterest. You need to post on Pinterest. Very, very important. Next up, YouTube. I know you're like, what am I gonna do on YouTube long form content? I'm gonna explain that in a few. And then finally, emails, blogging, content marketing. You need to do all these things. Let's start from the beginning, from Instagram. So how much effort should you be placing on Instagram? Do you guys honestly think that it's all about how many followers an Instagram has? It really doesn't. Nowadays, Instagram is not really so much about how many followers you have at the top, because there's a lot of people who just buy followers. Let's just face it, they do it, it looks inflated. And even if there's a high following on Instagram, you'll notice that sometimes on the engagement, it just doesn't make sense, meaning that people don't comment enough, and that's what truly matters. So if you had to weigh out an account that values the most, right? High following or high engagement, which one do you think it's gonna be? The one with the high engagement and low follower is the one that's more of high value. So what does this mean for you? If you have a low following, this is a green flag for you. You need to really pay attention to your business, and you need to say, how can I feed the algorithm so that they could value me and I could reach out to more eyeballs? The Instagram algorithm works as follows. Content and consistency is key, both of them. I repeat, content and consistency. Content, because you need to create content that is actually going to drive the attention of people who are going to watch what you're going to say. So if you pump out content that is just a picture and just this and that, things are not going to work. Also with Instagram, what do they value as of today's date? What they value is reels and stories. So I see a lot of businesses making the old mistake. They think that we're still stuck on 2005, where they're just still posting photos. It's not that you shouldn't post photos. It's just that the Instagram algorithm is not favoring photos very well. Instead, what you need to strongly focus on is reels and stories. Reels is more for new discovery. When you post on the reel, Instagram's algorithm will show to a percentage of those who are following you. But reels, what's most important is so that it reaches out to people who are not following you. Stories, on the other hand, it does show to certain people that are not following you, but most importantly, it does show to people who are following you. So if you do have Instagram and you notice those little bubbles at the top where people's faces come out, those are the ones of people who you follow. And the first one that comes out is probably the latest and greatest person whom you're following. So when it comes to your followers, if they're active and not bots, those stories are perfect. But reels is where we want to really put our attention on. Now that leads us to consistency. When it comes to consistency, right? Think of it almost like credit. If you pay for things on time, your credit goes up. The moment that you miss a payment or something, your credit takes a very nasty hit, and it's hard to kind of recuperate that. What I'm saying is that with Instagram, it's kind of the same thing. You have to be consistent. So posting every day is the challenge. And I know those business owners who are watching, you're like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna have the time while running a business to be posting every day? There's several ideas as to how you go about it. You could figure out or plan ahead, just like how many of you do meal prepping. If you're used to like meal prepping where you just take Sundays and you meal prep for the whole entire week, think of that concept the same way. You have to content prep for your business. Rather, if it's on Sunday for the week, you create 7 posts, or through the middle of the month, you create 14 posts for the month, or for the month, you create 30 posts for the following month that's gonna come out there, right? And yes, that does sound overwhelming, especially if you're wearing a lot of hats in your business. You're like, well, I have to, my brick and mortar store, I have to pay attention to my online store, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I know, but this is why it's so important for you to delegate. If you're making business, if you're making money, you have to allocate a budget so that you could separate for someone to help you on recordings such as this, right? And someone to help you do Instagram, which is content management. You could definitely hire people, rather if it's from overseas or something, in order to at least help you allocate all of those resources and all of those assets nice and ready for you, so that all you have to do is on your phone, just press go every morning or every day at a certain time of the day. The key is to be consistent. If you're consistent every day, Instagram will take notice of that, and the following month, the numbers will start to grow. You'll start seeing that your posts are gaining 10 viewerships, 15 viewerships. Next thing you know, we're in the hundreds. Next thing you know, we're in the thousands, we're in the 3,000s. But wait, what happens if all of a sudden you just slow down? You're just like, you haven't posted in like 4 days, you haven't posted in a week. Then you post again thinking that you're gonna get those 3,000. Guess what happens? 500. You're like, what happened? That unmotivates you and your business takes a hit. That's what I mean. With Instagram posting reels, you have to figure out a way on either doing it yourself, rolling up your sleeves, or delegating that responsibility to somebody that's gonna be consistent and post every day. Lastly, the type of content. So you might say, okay, well, I'm just gonna post a picture of this watch and it kind of looks nice. All right, you might think that, but who's your competitor? Why don't you search who your competitors are? Search what the big boys are doing. What are they constantly posting? What's their engagement look like? Do you actually see their engagement and people talking on how nice things look? Well, you need to kind of emulate that because you're competitors at the end of the day. And so that's the world of Instagram. You need to come up with content that strongly competes with the visuals on what people want to see. Let's go to the next one. All right, TikTok. TikTok's algorithm is a little bit different, right? It doesn't favor too much on you have to be consistent, but rather they have this algorithm where it's all about how impactful are you within sets of audiences. So TikTok, as you pump out content, they always deliver it to a small amount of people just to see if they like it and they engaged and so on and so forth. So they always start with the 200s. Once you meet that 200 criteria, if they engage, they like, they see through the whole thing, they share it and so on and so forth, what happens afterwards? Then they start scaling that to the next either 300 or 500 people. Once it continues to create traction, now you're going into the thousands, right? And the wave continues to see how many people like, engage up until not a lot of people like and engage, and that's where you kind of cap off. That's how TikTok works. And so you need to make sure that you pay attention to your hook, what you're saying, and also the time frame, right? Rather if it's 30 seconds or less than a minute, and you have to put out valuable content, right? You have to do that. But can you fall off for a little bit? Yeah, you can. And it's not as rigid as Instagram. You could fall off maybe for probably 1 or 2 days and then come back with something strong, right? But the point is that you need to really focus on that. Now, here's what I've noticed that has worked when it comes to TikTok, because TikTok business and a TikTok personal account are two completely different things, right? Let me explain really quickly. So, niches. You really have to hyper niche down towards what your industry is. So if you have a general store, this is not gonna work out for you. For example, let's say that you sell electronics as a general store for your e-commerce, but then you also sell t-shirts. And so you're talking about t-shirts and then you're talking about electronics. You know, your audience is gonna be such a big bag that TikTok is gonna be like, forget this is not gonna go nowhere, and it's a dud, right? So when it comes to fashion, let's say, and it's men's fashion, and it's just, you know, shirts, this, that, for contemporary wear for men and all this type of stuff, you'll notice that that business account will scale slowly, right? Compared to a personal TikTok account. That's the magic sauce. Listen up. How that works is that you have your business account, but there needs to be some type of ambassador to represent that business. Whether if you have content creators or yourself, you're the main person of the business. And so that's where you need to be the brand, right? So you separate TikTok as far as the business and then the brand, you, yourself, right? But both of them are active. And here's what you do. You focus on yourself as an individual brand. Whoever's watching, yeah, you. So if you're a woman, if you start in beauty, if you're just like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm just waking up and I'm doing this mascara or this and today let me tell you about my day. Today, like they're just doing normal things, and watch, you'll start gaining fans because you're like the girl next door, and a lot of fans will start following you because you're that influence of beauty, right? That's how it starts. For dudes, it could be fitness, it could be cars, whatever, but you're just kind of showing your life as to who you are. You'll notice that your personal brand on TikTok starts to grow much faster than your business. And so as your personal brand goes, right, you start informing people that you have a business and that your business, you show cool things that you wouldn't show on your personal brand. And all of those followers that you've gained on one side will start to trickle down into the business, and that's when you'll start seeing growth. But here is the best part. Remember, when we're comparing TikToks to Instagram, the strongest power of everything is going live. Going live on TikTok is serious business. And so one of your biggest goals is to try to get 1,000 followers on TikTok. And once you go live, that's when you'll see a lot of eyeballs, because TikTok is not cheap when it comes to presenting content. Let me explain. So if you create a post on TikTok, TikTok will show that to somebody immediately. Whereas with on Instagram, it might take a little bit longer. Depending on how frequent you are with Instagram, it's gonna determine its algorithm if it's gonna feed it to people. And you're like, no, I need to post this content right now. I need people to see this right now. That's where TikTok favors you. Do you understand what I mean? And so when it comes to TikTok, I've noticed that with certain brands that works strongly. And that's why I say, if we're about eyeballs and getting people off the ground right away, focus on TikTok. All right, next up. So there's YouTube I mentioned. With YouTube, you know, if you're doing blogs, as I mentioned, create a YouTube account because it's from Google, okay? And so you go ahead, you make a YouTube account and you start posting long form content about articles that you want to write about in your blog. And so in your blog, you write about it. That's gonna help you out on your SEO, right? And after you write about it, now you talk about it. You say, look, this is about that. And you kind of explain all of that and you attach that video into your blog. And now not only are you getting views on YouTube, but you're also getting people to read your blog there. And you also show up on Google twice. So if someone's searching for a content that talks about, let's say, for example, how to, change the oil of a car, not only do you have a video, but you also have a blog that talks about it. So on the Google searches, it's gonna come out twice. One that's a video and one that's a blog. You have two types of people who consume content. One that would rather see a video and another one that doesn't have time that would rather read it, old school, whatever you call it, right? The point is that your business is growing because in Google, you're being placed at the top. All right, so at what point really is it good to have ads after explaining all of this? Here's the kicker. Let's go back to Instagram real quick. Let's say that you actually followed the 30-day rule where you're posting every day. Essentially, once you start posting every day, you'll start noticing that there's some reels that perform good and others that don't perform very well. Your job is to come up creatively with an idea on how to get people to engage as well as to share your reel. That is the goal. And of course, the rule of virality is you need to make sure that people share your content. The more shareable your content is, the more viral it becomes. Shares cost more than likes and comments. So if we're looking at things at a point system, one thing is likes, one thing is comments, and another thing is a share. In the value system, let's call it 1 point for a like, 3 points for a comment, 20 points for a share, you see? And based on how much points you get, that's how something goes viral. So if you get a lot of comments and a lot of likes, yeah, okay. But if you get a lot of shares, whoa, this thing is going to a lot of eyeballs. All right, so let's pretend that it's been a month and you want to see all that content. You're like, look at this one. This one really went viral. Why did it go viral? Well, it talks about this, it talks about that, but it really got the people engaged. Great. Grab that content and that's going to be an ad. You're going to pump some money into that because it's already been proven on Instagram that it skyrocketed. It went amazing. It did fantastic, right? But you might say to yourself, oh, wait, hold on. That content was a meme. And it's like, oh no. Well, how do we mix a meme with what we're trying to sell? That's the creative part, right? And if you don't know the answer to that, don't fret, it's okay. Ask the questions in ChatGPT, the expensive one. You say, hey, look, I got this content, right? It was a meme. And on this meme, everything went great. It went viral, but I sell facial cream, right? And it kind of mixed in with facial cream, but it was a meme, so it made people laugh. How can I make this into a reel where I have the meme and I have a post where I talk about my products? How can I fuse that together? Of course, part of that question needs to be combined with a prompt that also says, here's the meme. The meme, you have to visually describe it. It's about a person that's putting, whatever in the face, and this is what they say, and this is going on. You have to verbally explain that meme to ChatGPT as if, you're just verbally explaining it. And once you grab all of that, that's when everything comes together. If you like this type of content, all I ask for is subscribe. You already know. See you on the next video.